Hello, friends. Welcome to Journaling Together. I want to talk about pre-mortem and post-mortem today. I know that sounds weird and mortem, right? But hear me out. So I felt early on, like when this whole virus thing was starting to catch, that I had to make certain decisions that were, you know, perhaps people thought I was overreacting or whatever, but it became pretty obvious to me several times that I've had to make decisions that were not popular, like pulling my kid out of school, like self-isolating before people started to, and just a bunch of little things like that. And those were things that I clearly could control. What I want to talk to you today about, and I'm hearing a lot of people saying like their parents aren't listening or taking this seriously, or there's relationship issues or relatives coming over, older people, or just things that seem out of our control, not getting along with people that we're quarantined with, relationship issues while we're quarantining. All of these things are really pressing. And I used to work at BIC Corporation, Lighters, Pens, and Shavers. I was manager there. And one of the things that we did when things didn't go right or how we planned was to do a post-mortem, which is basically looking at things in hindsight, and in particular things that were failures or on the failure side of things. And you're probably familiar with these terms, but there's been a change in approach to management as far as looking at situations, looking at it from before things happen. So instead of hindsight, looking at things and trying to see how could this fail miserably, and then work backwards from there, or at least write out all the different ways that this project could fail. And then there's the other way of doing it, which is pro-mortem, which is to look at it being hugely successful and write down. And this is all written very quickly, stream of consciousness. Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up, stream of consciousness. Because you know all the different ways based on your situation, based on who you're living with, based on your in-laws or your parents' personalities and the way they manage things, all these things that are happening in your life right now, you are pretty much an expert at, because you've been living with that for a while. So again, it's just stream of consciousness writing, all the ways that it could go right, and following through on that. So while we can't control everything, this is where it gets tricky, because if your family, for example, your older relatives are not heeding the seriousness of this and the advice that's being offered, you can look at worst case scenario, which is that something bad will happen to them, right? And then you can work backwards from there and seeing where these scenarios are likely to play out, what steps might lead to that ending, and then work backwards from there. And then ultimately, I think the question becomes, is what can you do about it that's within your control, right? If a relationship is causing anxiety, maybe taking a break from it and retrieving to a space that is just yours for the time being until you can regroup. But it's also important to say that if you are not loving your family right now, that's okay too. Give yourself permission to dislike them, that it's okay to dislike them, because deep down inside, there is love there, even though you don't feel it at the moment. So it's okay to dislike someone temporarily. That's okay. So I just wanted to give that kind of perspective for decision making nowadays, because even though we're in confined spaces, we do have a lot of decisions to make, believe it or not. Groceries, like, do I wipe them down or not? And if you look back at, hey, I'm healthy and my relationship is intact at the end of this coronavirus pandemic, What are the contributing factors? Why were you successful? Why did you remain healthy from a pro-mortem perspective? Or you can look at it, whichever works better for you, from a post-mortem, or I'm sorry, from a pre-mortem where it didn't go well. You got sick. And why did that happen? Those are the stream of consciousness writings that will help you identify the steps. And then you can look at what's in your control and doing everything possible. Okay, so with that said, so I told you yesterday that I had something going on, and I don't want to go there because it's kind of personal, and if it involved me, I would tell you, but it involves other people, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I think this pre-mortem and pro-mortem is really going to help me understand what I can do about it and how I should best communicate it so that I've done all I could and be okay with that. Oof. Okay, here we go. 5 minutes on the page, wherever you need to go, whatever you need to release. Here we go.